Hey everyone, welcome to your deep dive all about happiness.
Yeah, happiness.
It's something we all want, right?
It is.
But it can be so hard to figure out.
Yeah,
And so I know from the sources that you gave us that you're really looking for some solid insights into this.
definitely.
It's kind of funny because we all want it, but then it's like we get these little glimpses of it.
We do.
Maybe it's like that feeling when you first get a new car or when you achieve something that you've been really working towards,
Right.
and then it's like poof, it's gone.
It fades so fast.
Yeah, so today we're going to really try to explore why that is.
That's the big question, is it?
It is, why is happiness so slippery?
Yeah. And how can we actually get more of it?
Exactly. So let's dive right in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so first things first.
Yeah.
What even is happiness?
Well, a lot of people, when they start thinking about happiness, they think about it the wrong way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they think that it's like this constant state of euphoria.
Oh, so like winning the lottery every single day.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Okay, so like if we could just bottle up that feeling when we, like, I don't know, when you buy a new house.
Right.
Or when you finally get that promotion that you've been working towards and just have it last forever.
Yeah, if only.
If only.
But the thing is, happiness isn't like a finish line.
What do you mean?
Well, it's not like some static endpoint that you reach and then you're just happy forever.
I see.
It's way more complex than that.
So it's not like this constant high all the time?
It's more like a bunch of emotions all mixed together.
Like what?
Well, you've got joy and peace and fulfillment, even some sadness and frustration in there too.
Okay, so it's not about feeling happy 24/7. It's about how we deal with being human.
That's it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So, okay, if happiness isn't this like constant peak, why is it so hard to hold on to?
Yeah, you're really hitting on something there.
Yeah, it's like I get a rush when something good happens, but then it fades.
It always does.
Like I remember when I finally got that new espresso machine.
Oh, nice.
Oh my gosh, I was so excited, but it wore off pretty quick.
Well, you've just described the hedonic treadmill.
The what?
Hedonic treadmill. It's this thing where we adapt to good things really fast.
Oh, so we get excited about that new job or that new gadget, and then we get used to it.
Exactly. Our happiness kind of resets.
So we're always chasing that next thing.
Yep. Always thinking that that's going to be the answer.
Oh my gosh, I'm so guilty of that.
I think we all are, to some extent.
And that always striving mentality, like what does that lead to?
Another trap.
What's that?
Future tripping.
Don't you tripping?
It's when we're always thinking, I'll be happy when.
Oh yeah, like when I get that promotion or when I finally go on that vacation.
Exactly. But the problem is we're putting off our happiness, waiting for this future happiness to show up.
And it might never even happen.
That's the risk we take.
I do that all the time.
Tell me about it.
I'll be like, oh, I just got to get through this week and then I'll relax. But there's always something else.
There isn't there?
And then there's social media.
Oh, yeah. Don't even get me started on that.
Yeah. It's like everybody else is living these amazing, glamorous lives.
We're just stuck at home in our sweatpants, scrolling through it all.
Exactly. And it makes you feel like you're not good enough.
Yeah, like you're not doing enough.
It's such a trap.
It is a big one, and we all fall into it sometimes.
Definitely. But we have to remember that social media is just a highlight reel.
It's the best of the best. It's not real life.
Yeah, it's like looking at a perfectly filtered photo and comparing it to your messy everyday life.
Exactly. You can't compare yourself to that.
It's so easy to forget that.
Yeah. But it's important to keep it in mind.
For sure.
Because otherwise it can really make you feel bad about yourself.
Okay, so we've got the hedonic treadmill, future tripping, and the comparison game. What else?
Well, all of that can lead to stress.
Oh, of course.
And all that stress makes it even harder to be happy.
Right, like when you're trying to enjoy dinner, but you're thinking about work deadlines.
Exactly. Or you're replaying that awkward conversation you had earlier.
It's like our brains just won't shut off.
And all that overthinking, that's what really pulls us away from happiness.
So instead of enjoying what's happening right now, we're stuck in our heads.
Yeah, either thinking about the past or worrying about the future.
And we miss out on the joy that's right in front of us.
It's a shame, isn't it?
It is.
Because happiness is right here, right now.
But it's so hard to see it sometimes.
Especially when we're stressed and overwhelmed.
So what can we do about it?
Well, there's actually a bit of irony here.
Oh, really?
The more we obsess over trying to be happy, the harder it gets.
Really? So it's like trying too hard to relax.
Exactly. You just end up more tense.
I've definitely experienced that.
And there's research to back it up.
What does it say?
Well, people who are constantly chasing happiness actually end up more disappointed.
So it can backfire?
It can, because they're setting themselves up for failure.
Okay, so chasing happiness directly isn't the answer?
Not necessarily.
So what is?
We need to shift our mindset.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, first we got to stop delaying happiness.
What do you mean?
Instead of, I'll be happy when, We need to start appreciating what's good right now.
So instead of waiting for the perfect moment,
We got to find joy in the chaos.
I love that. Find joy in the chaos.
That's what it's all about.
But how do we actually do that?
It's a practice.
What do you mean?
Well, like any skill, it takes time and effort.
Okay, so what's the first step?
Gratitude.
Oh, like gratitude journals.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Where you write down things you're grateful for.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it's more than just making a list.
It is.
It's about really savoring those good things.
Okay, like how?
Well, let's say you're having your morning coffee.
Okay.
Instead of just gulping it down, take a moment to appreciate it.
Like what?
Smell the aroma, feel the warmth of the mug in your hands, taste the coffee as you sip it.
Oh, wow, yeah. Engage all the senses.
Exactly.
Turn it into a mindfulness practice.
That's the idea.
So gratitude is about appreciating what we have.
Yeah.
What else can we do?
Limit comparisons.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is, especially with social media,
Yeah, but you're right.
because everyone's journey is different.
And we're all at different stages.
We are, and we have different goals.
It's like comparing apples and oranges.
Exactly.
So instead of focusing on what others have.
We need to focus on our own values.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, and our own definition of success and happiness.
Our own path.
Exactly.
So it's about figuring out what matters to us.
Yes, not what society or social media tells us should matter.
That's powerful.
And then there's finding meaning.
Finding meaning.
Yeah, in your life.
Okay.
What could be through your relationships, your work, your hobbies, anything that resonates with your values.
So doing things that feel purposeful.
Exactly. And when you're doing things that have meaning for you, happiness tends to follow.
Okay, so we've got appreciating the now gratitude, limiting comparisons, and finding meaning. What else?
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Okay, I've heard that word a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty popular these days.
But what does it actually mean
Well, it's all about learning to be present.
in the moment?
Yes, without judgment.
So like when you're doing the dishes,
Yeah, instead of thinking about your to-do list, focus on the feel of the water.
the sounds of the soap bubbles.
Exactly. Just be present.
It's like a mental vacation.
It is, in a way.
But how do you actually quiet your mind?
It takes practice, but it's worth it.
So it's about finding those pockets of peace in the everyday.
That's it.
Okay, so we've got appreciating the now practicing gratitude, limiting comparisons, finding meaning, and being mindful.
Those are the big ones?
That's a lot to take in.
It is, but you don't have to do it all at once.
Oh, good.
Just pick one thing that resonates with you.
Okay, so just focus on one thing.
Yeah, and see what happens.
I like that small steps, big impact.
That's the idea.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll dive even deeper into these strategies and explore some specific techniques for cultivating happiness. So stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to your deep dive. You know, as we were talking before the break about shifting our mindset, I was thinking about how happiness isn't really something you just find,
It's more like something you got to work at.
work at. I like that. What do you mean by that?
It's like we're gardeners,
Yeah.
tending to our own little happiness gardens.
Okay. I like that analogy. So we're planting seeds and nurturing them and watching them grow.
Exactly. And we talked about gratitude earlier. That's a really important seed to plant.
It is. And you were saying it's not just about making a list of good things.
No, it's about really savoring them.
Like how?
Well, let's say you're having your morning coffee. You could just gulp it down without even thinking about it.
Right.
But what if you took a moment to actually smell it? Feel the warmth of the mug, taste the coffee, really taste it.
Oh, yeah. Engage all the senses.
Exactly. Mindfulness.
Oh, yeah. Mindfulness. That's another important seed.
Absolutely. And we touched on it a little bit in the last part, but what does it actually mean to be mindfulness? How do we do that?
Yeah, good question.
Well, it's about training your mind to be present in this moment without judging yourself.
So no more beating ourselves up for not being perfect.
Exactly. It's like hitting the pause button on all that mental chatter and just observing your thoughts and feelings without getting carried away by them.
Okay, but how do we actually DO that?
Well, one simple way is to focus on your breath.
My breath.
Yeah. Just notice the feeling of each inhale and each exhale, the rise and fall of your chest.
Okay, so I'm just noticing my breath.
You can do this for a few minutes each day or even just for a few breaths whenever you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
Like a mini meditation.
Exactly. It's like a mental vacation from all the noise.
I love that. A mental vacation. Sign me up. And you mentioned before that we can even practice mindfulness while we're doing everyday stuff like washing the dishes.
Absolutely. Instead of rushing through it, thinking about everything else you need to do, try focusing on the feel of the water, the sound of the soap bubbles, the simple act of cleaning each plate.
I love that idea. It's like finding those pockets of peace in the everyday chaos.
That's exactly it.
Okay, so we've got gratitude, mindfulness. What other seeds should we be planting in our happiness gardens?
How about kind?
Kindness.
Yeah, studies actually show that being kind to others can make us happier.
Really?
It's true. And it doesn't have to be some big grand gesture. It could be something as simple as holding the door for someone or giving a genuine compliment.
Oh, I love that. It be the change you want to see in the world, right?
Exactly. And speaking of connecting with something bigger than ourselves,
Mm.
remember we talked about finding meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes that meaning comes from helping others.
Oh, so it's not all about bubble baths and self-care.
Not always. Sometimes the key to happiness is getting outside of ourselves.
And focusing on something bigger than our own needs.
You got it.
This is making me think about those weeds that can creep into our happiness gardens.
Oh yeah, those weeds.
You know, that inner voice that's always comparing us to others or reminding us of our past mistakes. How do we deal with that negative self-talk?
That inner critic could be tough, but the first step is just noticing it.
So it's just being aware of it.
Exactly. Notice when those negative thoughts pop up. Instead of getting swept away by them, just try to observe them.
So it's like acknowledging those thoughts without letting them take root and choke out the other plants in our garden.
That's a great way to put it. And then once you've noticed the thought, you can try to challenge it.
Challenge it.
Yeah, ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it even true? Is there another way to look at this situation?
So it's about questioning those negative thoughts.
Exactly, because sometimes just questioning them can take away their power.
It's like we're choosing which thoughts we want to give our energy to.
That's a great way to think about it. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Talking to a friend, a therapist, or even just journaling can help.
Oh, journaling is my go-to. It's like therapy on paper.
I love that, therapy on paper.
So we're planting seeds of positivity and we're weeding out the negativity. Any other gardening tips?
Just like any garden, your happiness needs nourishment to thrive.
Oh, yeah. What kind of nourishment are we talking about?
Well, taking care of yourself, getting enough sleep, moving your body, eating healthy foods, spending time in nature, all those things contribute to a more balanced and joyful life.
It's like providing the right soil and sunlight for those happiness seeds to flourish. And let's be honest, sometimes we need a little fertilizer too.
Fertilizer, what do you mean?
You know those activities that bring us pure joy, even if they seem silly or unproductive?
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like dancing in your kitchen, singing in the shower, curling up with a good book.
I love those things.
Me too. They're like the beautiful flowers that add color and vibrancy to our happiness gardens.
You really are.
So we're tending to our gardens with care, planting good seeds, weeding out the bad, nourishing ourselves. This is starting to feel less like a chore and more like a fun experiment.
That's the spirit. And remember, just like gardening, cultivating happiness takes time and patience. There will be seasons of growth and seasons of dormancy.
So there will be ups and downs.
Exactly. There will be times when your garden thrives and times when it needs a little extra TLC. The key is to keep showing up. Keep tending to those seeds of happiness and trust that even the smallest actions can make a difference over time.
This gardening analogy is really working for me. It makes cultivating happiness feel so much more manageable.
I'm glad to hear that.
All right, folks, we've got one more segment to go in this deep dive into happiness. When we come back, we'll be exploring some of the surprising things that science has revealed about happiness and how we can use those insights to create even more joy in our lives. So stay with us. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into happiness. And you know what I've been thinking about?
What's that?
Well, we're always told that certain things will make us happy.
Right, like what kind of things?
Like, money, success, the perfect partner, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, those big ticket items.
Yeah, but I'm curious, does the research actually support that?
Well, it's interesting because those things can definitely play a role,
They can.
but they're not the whole picture.
Oh, really? So it's more complicated than that?
It is. There's a lot more to it.
Okay, well, let's break it down. Then let's start with money, for example.
Okay, sure. So research has actually shown that once our basic needs are met, like food, shelter, safety,
Yeah.
the connection between money and happiness, it kind of levels off.
So, like, having enough money to live comfortably is important.
Absolutely.
But after a certain point, more money doesn't equal more happiness.
Not necessarily.
Interesting. So it's not about how VUCH money we have?
No, it's more about how we use it.
Okay, so how we spend it.
Exactly. Like, do we spend it on experiences? Do we help others with it? Are we using it in a way that aligns with our values?
So it goes back to finding meaning and purpose.
It does.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not just about what we have, but how we live.
Exactly.
Okay, so money isn't the magic key to happiness. What about our personality? Like, are some people just born happier than others?
Well, that's another fascinating area of research. And it
Is.
turns out our genes DO play a role.
Oh, wow. So some people are just naturally more inclined to be happy.
Yeah, some people are just wired to be more optimistic and cheerful, while others might have a more melancholic temperament.
So we're all dealt a different hand in the happiness game.
In a way, yes, but here's the good news.
What's that?
Just because you might have a genetic predisposition towards a certain mood
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're stuck there.
Oh, really? So we can change our happiness levels.
Our brains are incredibly adaptable,
That's amazing.
and research shows that we can actually train ourselves to be happier.
Wait, really? So even if you're someone who tends to be more pessimistic,
Yeah.
you can actually learn to be more optimistic.
You absolutely can. It's like building a muscle.
Happiness muscle.
Exactly. The more you practice gratitude, mindfulness, kindness, all those things we've been talking about,
Yeah.
the stronger those neural pathways become.
So our brains literally change in response to our thoughts and actions.
They do. It's pretty incredible.
That is incredible. So even if happiness doesn't come easily, it's not hopeless.
Not at all.
We can actually rewire our brains to be happier.
That's the power of neuroplasticity.
Okay, so we've talked about money, we've talked about genetics. What other surprising insights about happiness have you come across?
Well, one of the biggest ones is the importance of social connection.
Social connection.
Yeah, we humans are social creatures,
We are.
and those strong, supportive relationships are essential for our well-being.
So it's not just about feeling good on the inside.
No, it's also about feeling connected to others.
Having a sense of belonging.
Exactly. Spending quality time with loved ones, nurturing those meaningful relationships, feeling like you're part of a community, those things are so important for our happiness.
And even for introverts like me, who need a little more alone time, those connections are still so valuable.
They are for everyone.
It might just be a few close friends or a small, tight-knit group, but those deep connections really make a difference.
They do.
Okay, so money, genetics, social connections, any other surprises?
Well, this one might sound a little counterintuitive.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Embracing our negative emotions is actually really important for overall happiness.
Wait, what you're telling me? I need to, befriend my sadness and anxiety?
Not necessarily befriend them, but definitely make peace with them.
Okay, so how do we do that?
It's about acknowledging those feelings, allowing ourselves to feel them fully without judgment, and then letting them go.
So instead of trying to push those negative emotions away,
We need to learn to ride them out.
like they're waves and we're surfers.
Exactly. Because trying to suppress or deny those feelings just makes them stronger.
So we need to experience the full spectrum of emotions.
We do the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And that creates more space for joy and happiness.
It does. It's like when you finally allow yourself to cry.
Yeah, you feel so much lighter afterwards.
Exactly.
So it's not about being happy all the time.
No, it's about embracing the whole experience of being alive.
The ups and the downs, the joys and the sorrows, all of it.
All of it. That's what makes life so rich and meaningful.
And that brings us back to the idea that happiness is a journey, not a destination. It's not something we achieve and then hold on to forever.
No, it's an ongoing process of growth, learning, adaptation.
So it's less about finding that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow,
And more about enjoying the walk along the way.
appreciating all the scenery, even the rain clouds and the muddy puddles.
Exactly. Because every day is a new opportunity to learn, to grow, to connect, to experience joy, even amidst the challenges.
I love that it's like we're all explorers on this grand adventure called life.
We are.
And happiness is those little treasures we find along the way.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into happiness,
Yeah.
I have one final question for you and for everyone listening.
Okay, what is it?
What's one small step you can take today to cultivate more happiness in your own life? It doesn't have to be anything big or drastic, just something that feels good, something that resonates with you, something that feels aligned with your values and your vision for a more joyful life.
That's a great question to ponder.
And remember, happiness is a journey, not a destination. So keep exploring, keep growing, and keep those happiness gardens blooming.
Yes, keep blooming.
Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and stay connected.